When you use an AI model like ChatGPT, you pay for it based on how much you use it. Seems pretty straightforward, right? Kind of like your water bill. But what if that entire model is fundamentally flawed? What if, by charging everyone the same way, AI companies are actually accidentally making their own products dumber? Okay, let's get into this. So let's just start with this really provocative question from the source material we're looking at today. Are you, right now, paying to make the AI you use dumber? I know, it sounds completely backwards, but the economic model that powers all these AI tools might be creating this weird system that rewards boring, simple tasks over real creative thinking. So the heart of the problem, it's all in how we get billed for this stuff. It's called token volume billing. And it's simple. The more you type and the more the AI types back, the more you pay. It basically treats intelligence like a commodity, like you're buying it by the gallon. But as we're about to see, this creates a huge, unexpected problem. And that problem has a name, the tutoring trap. Okay, picture this. Imagine a brilliant student who's only ever asked to solve, say, 2 plus 2. Over and over and over. Yeah, they'll get insanely fast at it, but they're never going to learn calculus. That's kind of what's happening to our AIs. They're just drowning in these simple, repetitive questions that only reinforce what they already know and don't teach them a single new thing. Just how bad is it? Well, the research points to just a staggering 90%. 90% of the questions we ask these AI models are what they call basic recall tasks. Things like, summarize this article for me, or what's the capital of France? These are questions that have very well-established answers. For the AI, this isn't learning, it's just busy work. And this chart, wow, it just lays it all out, doesn't it? That massive slice, the 90%, represents all those queries that have pretty much zero training value. They don't push the AI at all. The entire potential for growth, for actually making the AI smarter, is crammed into that tiny little 10% slice of new, challenging questions. And that brings us to this really cool counter idea that the paper proposes, the smart friend hypothesis. The idea is that hidden inside that tiny 10%, there's a very special kind of user. And their interactions aren't a cost to the system, they're actually an incredibly valuable asset. So let's just flip this whole thing on its head for a second. Instead of seeing every single user as just a customer who's using up server time, what if the most curious, the most creative users are actually contributing more value than they're taking? What if they're basically acting as free, super high-level researchers for the AI lab? Let's break this down. So on one hand, you've got the typical tutoring query that we've been talking about. The training value here is basically nothing. This user's just taking up server time and electricity. That's the inference cost. So for the AI lab, this interaction is a net cost. It's a loss. Simple as that. But then you have the smart friend. Their questions have an extremely high training value. They're pushing the model into new territory, and in doing so, they're creating priceless data for future updates. For the AI lab, this user is a net asset. The value they provide is actually worth more than the cost to run their query. So what's the secret sauce here? What actually makes a query so valuable? Well, it boils down to 3 key things. First, high semantic density. It's connecting ideas that don't normally go together. Second, it's actually low resource intensive, often just a short, clever prompt that gets a really concise answer. And third, and most importantly, high novelty. It forces the AI to think in a way it never has before. And check this out. The math behind it is actually super simple and kind of brilliant. The net value of any interaction is its training value minus the cost to run it. For your average user, that training value is basically 0, so you get a negative number. It's a net cost. But for the smart friend, the training value is so incredibly high that it completely outweighs the cost, resulting in a positive net value. They are, quite literally, an asset to the company. Which brings us to the big idea, the core proposal of this whole thing, a totally new economic model where curiosity itself becomes a kind of currency. It's about moving away from treating AI as just a utility and moving towards a symbiotic model where the system actually rewards the users who make it smarter. Okay, so how would this actually work in the real world? It's basically a 2-step process, super straightforward. First, an algorithm acts as a proof of insight filter, and it looks at every single query to figure out if it's genuinely new or if it's just another boring generic task. And second, if the query gets flagged as valuable and novel, the user gets the dividend. They actually get rewarded instead of being charged. And we really can't overstate this. The work these smart friends are doing, it's insanely valuable. The source material points out that this kind of interaction is basically specialized reinforcement learning work that would cost a fortune. We're talking thousands of dollars to outsource to PhD researchers. But right now, AI labs are getting it for free, and in some cases, they're even discouraging it with their pay-per-token model. So what's the payout? What's this dividend we're talking about? Well, it doesn't even have to be cold hard cash. It could be things like waived subscription fees, getting priority access to new, more powerful models, or getting to use much larger context windows. The whole point is to create a system that attracts and, more importantly, keeps the most creative minds on the platform. Now, you might be thinking this is just about a new billing plan, right? No. This goes way deeper. This is about strategy. Because in this incredibly high-stakes race to build artificial general intelligence, or AGI, attracting these smartest users, well, that could be the single most important competitive advantage a company can have. The paper brings up a great analogy from biology called the Red Queen effect. It basically says that in a race, you have to sprint, full out, just to stay where you are. If you stand still for even a second, you fall behind. For AI labs, this means they have to be constantly improving their models, constantly getting smarter, just to keep up with the competition. So, where does this lead? Well, this slide paints a picture of two very different futures. The lab that sticks with the old model, they optimize for the average user. Their AI gets really efficient, but it becomes stagnant, a master of the mundane. But the lab that adopts the Curiosity Dividend, they optimize for their smart friends. They build this one-of-a-kind dataset of complex reasoning, and they accelerate their path towards true AGI. And the prize for winning this race, it's what the paper calls an insurmountable intelligence moat. Think about it. By rewarding the best thinkers, one AI lab could literally drain all the most brilliant human collaborators from every other platform. They'd create this incredible feedback loop of ever-increasing intelligence that their competitors could simply never catch up to. At the end of the day, what this all points to is a huge shift in how we even think about intelligence. It's not a commodity. It's not something you just buy from the cloud like you buy server space. It's a collaborative dance between human creativity and machine intelligence. And right now, the way we pay for it completely misses that point. So I want to leave you with this question. The next time you're about to type a prompt into an AI, just stop and think about the value of what you're asking. Because in this new age where your unique human thought is the most valuable training data on the planet, what is your curiosity actually worth?